up, swashbucklers? You're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 108. My name is Phil Johnson. I'm your host for the show. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling your friends. Thank you for helping me keep the old barge afloating on the ocean. Here we go, episode number 108. Fun fact about the number 108. The number 108 is considered sacred in dharmic religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. And in Buddhism, you reach that number by multiplying the senses of smell, touch, taste, hearing, sight, and consciousness, then by whether they're painful, pleasant, or neutral, and then again by whether they're internally generated or externally occurring, and then again by past, present, and future. So it's like 6 times 3 times 2 times 3 equals 108. So apparently, according to Buddhists, we have 108 feelings. That's a lot of feelings. A lot of feelings. And I have all good feelings about today's show. My guest on today's show is treasure hunter Carl Fismer. And he is an old school treasure hunting dude. Pirate wrecks, other shipwrecks, all sorts of great stuff. And man, does he have stories. Now, I will tell you going in, the audio is a little rough on this one because he was speaking to me through a special phone that connects to his hearing aids. He's an older guy. That's cool. And so the audio is a little rough on this one, but think of it as listening to a radio broadcast from the past. Except when I talk, it's super clean. But anyway, rough audio, but you'll enjoy the stories. I think it's a really fun interview. It's a cool interview. He's got some opinions and points of view that are very intriguing. The show does get slightly political in a few places, just so you know, going in. And that's cool. Just go in with an open mind, listen to things that are happening, and enjoy Carl's stories. It's a fun interview. It's very fun. So I am doing this. I'm finishing this episode a couple days early. It's only Friday right now. You're going to hear this like Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, and or it's not next week while you're listening to it. It is now. See the fluidity of time. It's amazing. I'm going to get all Buddhist on you right now. Anyway, so I'm doing this a little early because I am super swamped. By the time you're listening to this, I will be in Las Vegas at the World Series of Comedy, doing my best 8 minutes to get myself into the semifinals on Saturday night. And it's for the World Series of Comedy. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you've probably heard me talk about it previous years. Is a comedy festival / competition that happens in Las Vegas. 100 plus of the best comics in the country and other countries come into town, and we all duke it out with our best 8 minutes. And I have been to lots of them now. I think this is my 8th one or something like that. Ridiculous. I've done well some years, done terrible some years. Last year was terrible. Ooh, boy, did I have a bad set last year. But this year I'm pretty confident I got a good set. I got to cut another 8 seconds out. That's how detailed we have to get with these festival competition-y type sets. I have to cut 8 more seconds out of my set sometime before Wednesday, Wednesday the 13th. So if you want to come see the show, the festival's at the El Cortez in Las Vegas, and my show is the 7:30 show. I think it's 7 or 7:30 on Wednesday, September the 13th. So anyway, that's going to be a lot of fun. Come on out if you'd like to see us in Las Vegas. But anyway, yeah, so before then, I've got 3 more shows to do and a birthday party for my dad. He's turning 75 on Sunday this weekend. And so we're throwing him a big shebang right before he and I jump in the car to drive to Las Vegas. So that'll be fun, and we'll be lacking sleep. And that's what usually happens when we do the World Series of Comedy. So it's going to be fun. And hopefully... See, since I'm doing this couple weeks, I'm doing this before the weekend. I'm hoping that everything is still like we still have half a continent by the time you're hearing this on Tuesday or Wednesday. We got hurricanes coming in. Hurricane Irma. We just had Harvey just smacking up against Texas. And now here comes Irma smacking up against the Caribbean. All right, a place we all love, and Florida, and it's going to be a mess. And so I hope everybody is doing okay. I don't know what's happening because it's 4 days in the future from where I am now. 2 days in the future, a couple days in the future from where I am now, and I can't tell the future. So if you're in Florida or the Caribbean or wherever you're listening, I hope you're okay. If you're in Mexico, you just had an 8.1 earthquake in Mexico. That's insane. That's like That's craziness. That is a whole lot of shaking going on, man. So I hope our friends in Mexico are okay. The world is just beating on us, just pummeling us this week, and oh boy. Anyway, so here I'm in California. Here we were like, oh man, it's pretty hot this week. It was over 100. That's like the worst we've gotten. It was 108, 110, something like that, when my girlfriend and I were on vacation last weekend. So we cannot complain about that. Because it's not winds of over 100. It's not earthquakes of like craziness. So we're okay here in California. But I hope the rest of you, geez, just be safe. Just if things are coming, just get out. Get out. Come to Las Vegas. Join us at the festival. That's the only thing I can say. Oh man! Right after the festival, I'm going to come back home for a couple days, and then you can see me up in the Pacific Northwest and Canada on Thursday, September the 21st. I'll be doing a set at the Comedy Underground in Seattle, Washington. Quickie little guest set with some friends. It's going to be a good show. And then Friday and Saturday, September the 22nd and 23rd, I'll be headlining 3 shows at Laugh Lines in Vancouver, Canada. So that's going to be a bunch of fun. After that, Iowa, Florida, if it's still there, Minnesota, Wisconsin, all those dates are coming up. Come over to underthecrossbones.com, click on the tour dates button, and you can see where I'm planning on being if those cities still exist by the time I get there. If you're enjoying the show, and I hope you are, come on over to Facebook. Join us over there at facebook.com/underthecrossbones. I recently hooked up the group to the page, if you know what that means, and you can contribute your own piratey news and things like that, so I encourage you to do that. That's Under the Crossbones on Facebook. On Twitter, we're at Under Crossbones, no the. And of course, you can get all the show notes for this episode at underthecrossbones.com/108. If you want to donate, you want to click that Amazon banner, you want to be a sponsor of the show, all very easy, very cheap. Go to underthecrossbones.com/support. And if you don't know how that works, it's all on the page. Just go there. And I appreciate your helping financially support the show. That's awesome of you. Okay, I got packing to do. I have to go up to the bank. There's things to be done. So let's get into my interview now with treasure hunter Carl Fismer. Check it out. So you are a treasure. Do you define yourself as a treasure hunter or a wreck diver or something else?
I like to say that I'm a treasure hunter, and that's only because the political situation today being what it is, they've tried to make treasure hunters sound like rapers, looters, and robbers. In fact, that was remember the Senator Lloyd Benson from Texas some years back? Well, he was in favor of the abandoned shipwreck bill. And I met his attorney in Houston, Texas, and he was interested in treasure. And I told him that Senator Benson might not like you doing that. And of course, he got huffy and said, well, why not? And I said, well, the senator's pushing a bill in the Senate right now that's going to stop admiralty law, which is the main law we treasure hunters use to salvage shipwrecks.
Okay.
So I said, can you get me an appointment with Senator Benson? He said, well, come to my house tonight for dinner, and we'll talk about it. He said, if you can convince me you need an appointment with Senator Benson, I'll get you in. So that night I went there. He had big steaks on the grill, real Texas style, and we were drinking bourbon and having a hell of a good time. And finally he put down a tape recorder and said, why do you want to see Senator Benson? Yeah. I talked for a long time, but some of the better points I made was I asked him, how could Washington, D.C. decide that I wasn't allowed to dive on a shipwreck that sank 17 years before George Washington was born?
Right.
And he said, I hate to argue against that in court. Anyway, long story short, he was a nice guy, as it turned out. I'm sorry I don't remember his name, but he's one of the big attorneys in Houston, or at least he was. Anyway, he got me an appointment to talk with Senator Benson. And the first thing Senator Benson was very cordial to me, shook my hand and said, thank you, Captain Fizz, for coming to see, poor little old me. I know you're such a busy guy. And so I said, well, thank you, Senator. I'm happy to be here. I said, actually, the purpose is you're endorsing the abandoned shipwreck bill in the Senate, and I thought possibly you hadn't heard our side of the story.
Right.
And he said, you're right. All I've heard about you guys is your rapers, looters, and robbers. I said, well, let's start there. So he actually extended my appointment time with him. We talked for about an hour and a half. Finally, I left, and he shook my hand vigorously at the door and he said, you come back and see me anytime you want. He said, you just tell the two girls out front that I said, get you an appointment. And I said, thank you, Senator, because, he ran for vice president shortly thereafter.
Sure.
And I knew I wasn't going to give up that invitation in case he won. But, yeah, as it was, he lost. But anyway, I get on the plane. I'm flying back to Florida, and I told him that I was possibly you hadn't heard our side of the story, and he said that he hadn't. Only that we were rapers, and I thought, my God, Senator Lloyd Bentsen, one of the most powerful politicians in Washington, and he's pushing a bill that is going to affect the lives of millions of people, and he don't even know the other side of the story.
Right.
What in the hell is going on in Washington? That's when I really got anti-politician.
I don't blame you. So let's go back a little bit. That's all very interesting. Let's go back to the beginning. How did you get started with diving and wreck diving and treasure hunting?
Oh, well, I knew somehow when I was a little boy up near Cincinnati, Ohio, that's what was going to happen. Back in the 1940s, probably 50s too, the comic books on the back had, hey kids, sell seeds and earn prizes,
right.
Flower seeds. And one of the prizes happened to be those old round face masks that the Voight company used to make.
Okay.
And I thought, I've got to get one of those. So they sent me a bunch of seeds. In fact, the first thing I ever got in the mail was a bunch of seeds. I sold them. Yeah, I sold them. And then the second thing I ever got in the mail, now mind you, I'm about, I guess, maybe 9 years old.
Okay.
And the second thing I got was that old Voight face mask. I ran water in the tub. I filled it up. I got in there with that blue Voight mask. I knew I was going to be doing something like that. I don't know how I knew, but I did.
There's not a lot of water around Cincinnati.
No, there's not a lot, but I wasn't about to get in the Ohio River, so as nasty as that is. So I went to the gravel pits, and I'd jump in there all the time wearing that. I just thought I was Jacques Cousteau or somebody.
Huh.
So anyway, that's how I knew it, but I finally moved to Florida in the 1970.
Okay.
I was wasting my life working for General Motors.
Huh.
And I put 9 years in there. After I got out of the Army, I should have came straight to Florida, but I didn't. But I did. I was a single dad with 2 kids, picked up little kids too. Picked them up. We got in the car and we drove to Sarasota, Florida, because of a friend of mine I was in high school with. His uncle lived there, who I had met in Ohio. So I stopped to visit him, and he said, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to do something. And he helped get me a job on the fire department in Sarasota. And then I worked my way up I got dive certified for rescue and recovery work.
Uh-huh.
And then I was a boat captain on the fire department. So one day there was 6 of us out in the fire boat, and we were supposed to be practicing what our rescue or recovery methods would be like.
Uh-huh.
But by accident, we anchored right over top of a shipwreck. And I got in the water and saw that, and the other guys too. We forgot whatever it was we were supposed to be doing. It was my guess, World War II freighter, mini freighter of some kind, busted in half, and just laying there. I thought, so Then we saw a bunch of copper tubing inside of it. So, man, with copper tubing, we're going to the junkyard with that. And
Sure.
so we 2 tanks of air apiece, just ripping copper tubing out. Now, by the way, copper is toxic to the marine environment.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
iron and stuff isn't so bad. So we were actually doing a good deed by removing that copper.
Uh-huh.
And since that time, I've removed tons of garbage, like lead sinkers and monofilament and beer cans by the thousand. Yeah. I found more junk than I found coins, and then I found thousands and thousands of coins. So anyway, we ripped all that copper out, and the next day I took it to the junkyard, and I think we got like $7.85 for all that effort.
Jackpot.
I said, I just got paid to work on a shipwreck. And it became an obsession. I went to the library. I read everything they had on pirates, I love pirates. And today's pirates are the best people in the world. Next weekend, by the way, Vero Beach, the pirate gathering.
That's right. Coming up.
You coming?
No, I'm way out here in California, so that's a long trip for me.
California, I'm sorry. Anyway, and now when you're a fireman, you can work 2 days and then you get 5 off.
Okay.
I did that for months, and I started trailering my boat down to the Keys, and by the year 1980 got here, I was able to quit my job and work at Treasure full time.
Okay.
And I've done better than most. I've done okay with it. And I worked with the best people in the world, like Jack Haskins, Art McKee, D.L. Cheney, Mel Fisher. I was with Mel for 12 years. And working with Jack Haskins for 32 years, that's the only reason I know what I know.
I imagine those guys were kind of mentors to you. How did you connect with them?
Oh, well, I was lucky. I ran into D.L. Cheney kind of by accident at the dive shop there in Isla Mirada.
Uh-huh.
And we talked for a while. I told him I was on the fire department and diver and everything. He invited me to work on his boat. It was called the Research Vessel WASP, W-A-S-P, named after the aircraft carrier of World War II.
Okay.
These guys, this were 3 patriots, war veterans, real Americans, for crying out loud. But the best at treasure hunting, too. And Jack Haskins was working with DL, but he wouldn't have anything to do with me for about 3 months. He told D.L. Cheney, he said, this isn't good. He said, don't educate him. You're only training the competition, which was true. So as it turned out, D.L. passed away, and then I started running the WASP, and one day Jack Haskins had said to me that he didn't have a lease to work the 1715 fleet up there at Fort Pierce. And I said, well, Jack, you don't need one. You can work under my lease, because I inherited it from DL. And I said, Jack, you can work under my lease. And he said, well, what do you want me to do? I said, what do I want you to do? What do you want me to do? You're Jack Haskins. You're the best treasure hunter in the business. I'm going to tell him what to do. And after that did it. After that, we spent 32 years together. And if it was not for all those years with Jack and all that knowledge, I wouldn't know half what I do. And when Jack passed away, I inherited all of his archival research.
Oh, wow.
And he went to the Archive of the Indies in Seville, Spain many times. I have, I would say, over 200,000 pages and a computer full. I've already had 500 calls, people wanting research.
Uh-huh.
I've made 3 deals on it, because most people say, well, let me have that research and I'll take care of you down the road. I said, Hey, I've been in the treasure business long enough to know that don't work.
Right.
So and the archives in Seville are closed now. The King of Spain realized he was literally giving away billions of dollars worth of information.
Wow.
So, yeah. So anyway, if you're ever looking for research, I'm about the only game in town. Thanks to Jack. Yeah.
It's just a different kind of treasure is all it is.
Yeah. Well, the fly in the ointment is dealing with governments.
Oh, sure.
We have dealt with some of them successfully. In fact, when Noriega was a dictator in Panama, Jack Haskins cut a deal for he and I to go down there and work. And the State Department tried to stop us. You know why? Well, there's an Aid to the Enemies Act, 1911. We said, what are you talking about?
Uh-huh.
They said, well, Noriega, he's in the drug business. And I smacked my face and I said, you're kidding me. Are you just finding that out? We've known it in the Keys for 30 years. Anyway, we ended up going down and we worked for Noriega. Now, granted, maybe he was a murderer and a dictator and a drug runner, but we made a deal with him. We would put the treasure into 3 piles. He would pick one of them, and we take the other 2 home. And everybody said, oh, he's going to kill you and keep all the treasure. Well, can you believe Noriega, the dictator, the murderer, the drug, kept his word?
Wow.
He took 1 pile, we took the other 2 and came home. Do you think you'll ever get a deal like that in Washington, D.C. or Tallahassee? There ain't no way that's going to happen.
That's amazing. I mean, that's got to be some sort of leap of faith to join in with somebody like that and hope that he's going to keep his word. I mean, you must have had some fears along the way with something like that.
Not even a little bit. Everybody, his drug boat from Colombia went right past us every day.
Oh my gosh!
And people say, "Oh, they're going to kill you and steal you the treasure." And I said, "Let me tell you what, their hauling's worth a hell of a lot more money than what we're picking up."
That's probably true.
They go by us. Yeah, we'd all wave at each other. I wasn't going to stick my nose in there. Never stick your nose in the business like that.
Right. That's amazing. One of the things that I always find surprising about your business is that with ships as old as these, the 1715 fleet and the 1733 fleet and things like that, that there's still stuff down there to be brought up. How much do you think is still down there?
Let me tell you, see, that question comes up often. And the reason the politicians and the bureaucrats have been pushing so hard to put us out of business is because all of the treasure hunters in the whole world combined have not picked up 2% yet.
Wow. Why do you think that is?
Well, one is a lot of it's really deep, but today that deep water stuff is accessible. I predict within 10 years or less, the U.S. Navy will be treasure hunting everywhere, and us guys are going to be dinosaurs and long out of business.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, Washington does not know the meaning of the word budget. I mean, in my opinion, with President Trump in, at least they might know what a budget is, but all them other ones have no idea. How do they solve problems? Well, they throw money at it.
Right.
That's how Washington solves problems, and I wish it would stop. I don't know if it will or not.
So do you think that in the event that the government / Navy starts diving those wrecks themselves for the treasure, do you think they would at least hire guys like you on, or would they just push you off to the side?
That's a question that's on the table right now down in Colombia. Really? I don't know if the richest Spanish galleon that ever sank has recently been discovered in Colombia. Now, Colombia at first said their Navy was going to do it, but then they changed it to any legitimate salvage companies that want to do this work can start putting the bids in.
Okay.
In fact, the people I'm working with, we contacted them yesterday. I have some connections in Colombia. And our name's on the list, so we'll see what happens with that. I don't know if the U.S. Navy would do it or not. I don't know.
Interesting. What is so when you've dove a ton of wrecks, like something like 300, right? If I read your bio right.
Yeah, somewhere around that number. I didn't count them, but I'm guessing, and all 47 years of diving. And when people will say, well, "How many dives do you have?" And I never kept a log. I guess. I think I have about 4,000.
Wow.
But there's one question they ask me a lot that I do have an answer for. Somebody will raise their hand and say, "Captain Fizz, what's the most dangerous thing you've ever faced?" And I say, "Congress."
Nice. I totally believe it.
And true.
I believe it. I absolutely believe it. So when you're out diving over all of those things, has there been like periodic giant scores of things, or is it really just an accumulation process of little things here and there that then build up into a large collection?
Well, I've had my best luck reworking wrecks that have already been discovered and worked. Although I have been lucky enough to be on a couple of virgins that paid off big. However, never believe it when somebody says, "Oh, that's picked clean, there's nothing left." That will never happen. There will always be stuff. The 1715 fleet, Brad Williamson, my dive partner, and I are gearing up to start working there right now. In fact, I was just reviewing our prospectus, and when I worked, I had good luck on the wreck of the Conception, 1641, on Silver Shoals Reef off the Dominican Republic. Well, Jack Haskins actually discovered that wreck in 1980, and he didn't stay on it, but a lot of the workers that he was working with there stayed, and they picked up 66,000 coins. Pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So about 6 years later, I got to thinking about that wreck. I was talking to Jack about it, and I said, electronics are a lot better. Well, you're in the radio business. You know how electronics keep improving every year.
Certainly, yeah.
So does in the treasure business. So I applied and got the lease to go back and rework the Conception. And but they were telling me, "There's nothing left out there. You're just going to waste your time and money." And within 2 weeks, I had brought back like 12,000 coins.
Oh my gosh!
And I had a nice bronze bell that a salvage ship in 1680 lost, and a ton of artifacts, all kinds of little silver statues, and there's all kinds of belt buckles and things, tons of artifacts, but 12,000 coins. And the curator in the Dominican said, "Carl, I don't believe it. I was assured you weren't going to find anything." I said, "Pedro, never believe what they tell you in the treasure business."
Is technology really the driving factor in finding the stuff that's not been found yet, or is there technique behind the technology as well?
Well, if you're lucky enough to have two things, like enough money for technology, we do use satellite imagery now.
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm telling you, it is great. I've been using satellite imagery since mid-1980s, I guess, and they were good then. But now today, if you want one good picture from a satellite, they can cost you $900.
Sure.
And so that's where the expense comes in. If you've got enough money to sustain and use the latest development in things, then you could hit the big casino more often than you do with no money.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
They've recently launched a new weather satellite, and it should have the ability to give us better weather predictions for at least 2 or 3 more days than they have been. Now maybe we'll know the weather as much as, say, a week ahead of time, and that plays a big part in planning what you're going to do.
Certainly, yeah. Speaking of weather, you got any good horror stories of things they should have made a movie out of?
Well, Hurricane Lily sure busted my butt. Yeah. I've been in 3 of them,
Wow.
That was in 96. I lost 2 out of 3 boats, got my arm broke, got my nose broke. Don't worry though, I'm still pretty. And what we did a good thing right just before that. We were down in Great Inagua, as far down in the Bahamas as you can get. That's the second biggest island.
Okay.
It's almost at the Windward Passage where Cuba and Haiti point at each other.
Gotcha.
Well, the Haitian people are great sailors. I mean, they build those sailboats, no motors, and they're just some of the best sailors in the world. Well, the only Haitians I had ever run into that had a power boat were broke down offshore, I don't know, 5-6 miles. There was like 20-some people on board. Now they're stuck out there. And the captain and 2 guys rowed in a little boat into Great Inagua and were begging people around there, for help. So even the Bahamian Navy people, when they wouldn't do it, they treat them, they're just not, they don't care much for Haitians. But in any case, I fired up the old Time Ranger, and my engineer was the only guy with me at the time. His name was Greg, and we went out and towed that Haitian boat back in. There were 20-some people on board, and it's just a damn good thing we did. 3 hours later, Hurricane Lily came right down on us, stayed there for 3 days. All them people would have been dead otherwise.
Yeah.
But when they saw me and Greg trying to take care of 3 boats in that storm, every one of those people jumped out there and gave us a hand.
I'm sure, yeah.
When the storm was over 3 days later, and I'm standing in line to see the doctor, I'm scrounging through the boat. We had a little TV set that didn't get ruined, and we had it's not a DVD back in those days. What was that called when you stuck a big plastic box into a recorder?
VHS, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Anyway, we had a John Wayne movie, and 3 bags of popcorn survived. So me and Greg and the Haitian sat out on the dock on bricks and pieces of wood and watched the John Wayne movie, and they did 3 bags of popcorn. A couple of days later, I had to fly to Miami to get my arm fixed. That was a good story. The hurricane was bad, but something good actually came out of it.
Yeah, no, that's really good. That's wow, that's kind of stuff terrifies me. It's why I live in California. We don't have weather. So all the divers that I've talked with in the last couple of years have a slightly different version of what should happen with the treasure and stuff that you're finding in these wrecks. Where do you think, or where does your stuff go? Do you keep it? Do you sell it? Do you loan it to museums? What do you do with it?
Yeah, well, now in the first place, coins especially, there are millions and millions of Spanish coins.
Sure.
Now, the state, maybe they should have a good cross-section of it for their display. But why should they have millions of, that repeat themselves over and over? Why should they have that?
Right.
What we do is, people want to buy a treasure coin, that's fine. A lot of them are priced very fairly. And you have a piece of history, you have a certificate with it that's explaining the history to you. Museums get a lot of things. I've curated 2 museums myself, and I've helped other people set up museums. Anyway, everybody gets a piece of history, and you own that.
Right.
And I don't see any problem with selling the multiples.
Sure.
The rare pieces, okay, the rare pieces, they can go into a museum. And even the pieces that are kind of rare or valuable go into private collections. Nobody buys like a Ming Dynasty porcelain bowl and goes out in the street and smashes it.
Right.
Nobody does that. The new owners are proud of that. They have it in their glass case at home. Friends come in, they show it to them. They are sharing history.
Right.
I like to say that we treasure hunters are returning to public domain coins and artifacts that have been lost for hundreds of years. And that's more than any of them bureaucrats are doing that say, oh, just leave it out there, or I'd rather see it rot in the ocean than you pick it up.
Sure, yeah. Do you have a fairly substantial collection of stuff that you keep?
Yes, I do. I'm looking at my cabinet right now. Yeah, I have a lot of stuff I'm attached to with a particular story behind it, and I sell them. I'm sure that when I die, my kids will put them in a yard sale for $1.
Tell me one of those stories about one of the objects that has a cool story attached to it.
Sure, I will. I like religious artifacts. I mean, I like them all, but I was lucky enough to recover what's known as a reliquary.
Okay.
It's an egg-shaped container that a relic from a martyr or a saint has been handed down for 2,000 years. The one I recovered intact had 2 rosaries in it, hand-carved rosewood rosaries, and inlaid with 22-karat gold. And where the crossbars cross, on each cross, there were 2 little slivers of wood inlaid in that. And that was from the cross of a saint or a martyr 2,000 years ago.
Sure.
You know, like when St. Peter was crucified, he said, I don't deserve to die like Christ. You crucify me upside down. So when they did, the faithful cut up his, now I'm not saying what I got came from St. Peter's cross.
Right.
But that happens to be a true story. So maybe it's from, I have no way of identifying what saint or martyr my pieces of wood cross came from. And while we're speaking of that, let me just a piece of history. Those crosses back in those days were reusable. You didn't have lumber just to build a cross every time the Romans were going to crucify somebody. You know, I mean, and they did kill a lot of criminals too. It wasn't like everybody was innocent.
Sure.
So anytime they let a cross get cut up, you can bet it was for something special. So my little 4 slivers of wood, I don't know. I don't know who died on them, but somebody did.
Interesting. And do you remember which wreck you found that on?
Yes, I do. It was the Capitana of the 1733 fleet. My address is P.O. Box 1733, Tavernier. and the reason it is, and the reason for that is the 1733 fleet is where treasure hunting started. Art McKee, the father of modern day treasure hunting. I was the last guy to break in under Art McKee. And of course, that came before the 1715 fleet. That came before the Atocha and the 1620. 1733 is where it started. I actually have a little business running in the Keys where I take people out diving on 2 of the Spanish galleon sites of the 1733 fleet.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, with snorkeling too, I'll just give myself a plug. It's on www.scubawise, but you spell wise, WICE.com, and all the information's on that, or Scuba Wise on Facebook.
Oh, excellent. Good. Yeah, I'll make sure that that's linked up in the show notes for sure. That's really cool. So tell me about this new book that you're working on.
Okay, well, my first book, Uncharted Waters, strangely enough, did a lot better than in fact, I'm still mailing them out every day. Sam Milner, the co-author, actually, Sam's the genius behind it. He just, we've been friends for years. He said, Fizz, you've got to get a book out. And Sam has like 15 of his own out. He gave me a tape recorder, and I'm talking into it. And then he said, that's boring. Here, take this bottle of rum. So then as I drank the rum, the stories got a lot better. And the first one did so good, we did a second one called Man Overboard. And I was just sitting here proofreading it when you called. I think it's better than the first one. Anyway, it's a bunch of treasure stories that I actually have been involved in like Uncharted Waters. Every story in that book, I was there. I did that. And I'm reading it now, and I'm looking back and thinking, man, nobody's going to believe this. I mean, but it's all true. And so I said, I don't know enough to do another book, Sam. He said, sure you do. Just talk about things you haven't talked about. And he'd give me one or two sentences, and then I'd take off on it. And now Man Overboard, it should be out, I'd say, in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, so that would be like mid-August or so it'll be out then.
Yeah, it'll be out by then for sure.
Okay, great. I will make sure that is linked up as well. That sounds like it'll be a fascinating read. That sounds really cool. Where's the best place online for people to keep track of what you're doing?
I do have a website. It's just carlfismer.com.
Okay.
On Facebook, I post a lot. I have thousands of friends on there, but just what's going on in the treasure business. I'll just tell you this: D.L. Cheney, the guy who gave me my first real break, he was working with Jack Haskins. Jack didn't want me. D.L. Cheney, we were illegally arrested in 1982. It brought about for him heart attacks. And the second time they arrested him, he had a heart attack in jail.
Oh, man.
They didn't believe him. They thought that he's just trying to get, and the cops that arrested him were laughing. And the reason I found that out, a friend of mine happened to be in jail when all that was going on, and he called me up and told me. So I will never forgive bureaucrats for all they. And even when it went to court, and they asked these two cops, well, did you say, what can we do? We're only pawns? Because D.L. Cheney said, this ain't right. And one of the cops said, well, what can we do? We're only pawns. If that ain't something right out of Nazi Germany, I don't know what is.
Amazing. Well, Carl, this has been really fun, man. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and talk with us, and I hope we can do it again sometime.
That sounds good. Anybody wants to be friends on Facebook just to keep up with the treasure, I do that every day practically.
Okay, great. I'll make sure that is all linked up as well. And let's talk again soon.
Appreciate it. Hope to see you at a pirate gathering sometime.
I'll make my way down there for sure.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye. And there it is, friends. That is my interview with treasure hunter Carl Fismer. If you want to find out more about what he's up to, go to carlfismer.com. That's his last name is Fismer. And of course, like he said, go also visit Scuba Wise with a Z, man, because he's hip and cool. ScubaWise.com. We are sponsored today by Pirate Radio of the Treasure Coast, WKKC-DB, playing the best music in pirate radio talk. You can listen to Under the Crossbones on both their stations. Just go to pirateradioofthetreasurecoast.com or pirateradio.tc.com. And don't forget to download their apps. That's the Pirate Radio Treasure Coast app for their music station and the Pirate Radio Talk app for the talk station. Yes, it's all good, and hopefully everybody down there is good too. If you're listening on Pirate Radio, the Treasure Coast, man, don't blow away, don't float away, don't earthquake away. Just get to safety. Yeah, such a weird week. Anyway, let's see. I got an ebook for you. Alexander Exquemelin's Pirates of Panama or Buccaneers of America. This is a book that was released in 1678, right there in that golden agey piratey kind of stuffy history. And it was written by a doctor who ended up on a bunch of pirate ships, wrote about his adventures, wrote about his experiences, and you can read it. I've got a nice ebook version of it for you. Just go to underthecrossbones.com and click on the free ebook button. Or if you are out and about and all you have is your phone with you, you can text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. Just text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. If you're driving, pull over before you do that. Do not text while you're driving. I try not to do that because I always listen. That's when I listen to podcasts is when I'm driving. So you probably are too. So that's all good. Okay, kids, that's our show for today. Thank you once again for tuning in. My guest, Carl Fismer, if you would like to find out more about what Carl's up to with his treasure hunting and wreck diving and all that kind of good stuff, go to carlfismer.com. You can also go to scubawise.com, and that is wise with a Z. And lots of great guests coming up next week for next week, Talk Like a Pirate Day. It's going to be here. And we're going to be talking to Steve Beam from the band Pirates for Sale. Very fun interview. You're going to dig that one. We got Nick Tyler, a.k.a. Captain Pigheart, coming up on a future episode. And I just recorded a really killer one with screenwriter James Hart, who you might know from, the movie Hook, or Muppet Treasure Island, or the TV show Crossbones, or other cool things that he's written, like Contact and August Rush and things like that. So all good stuff coming up. And thank you once again for tuning in. Be sure to come by the Facebook page, say hi, leave us a comment, tell me what you liked about the episode, and I will see you next week. Thanks.